for some interactions that we are all in. I believe that we have all managed to join the WhatsApp group. So when I ask a question, I'll either ask you to respond here or to respond in the WhatsApp group so that we can be more interactive than just being on this group. So I'm just trying to share my screen. Can we now see my screen?
No. Yes.
Okay. Right. All right, so I'll just give a brief overview of what this training is about. Esther has already highlighted why we are carrying on this training, but I'll just give you a brief overview so that when you go, you're also then able to implement the training with the best outcome for the objectives that we want to achieve through this. So the training has been developed for a training of trainers for our CBO partners on unpaid care and domestic work for community-based organizations who in turn train care and gender champions in their communities on the same. So we are working with the understanding that CBOs who are you on and who are our partners, working with aspiring women leaders in the grassroots. So in order for us to increase representation for women in the grassroots, we also have to train them on the issues that can impede their participation, which one of the issues being unpaid care and domestic work. So we want to be able to give you an understanding of what actually unpaid care and domestic work is and what are the implications of the same for the leadership of women. I will ask you also then to just quickly type in the WhatsApp group what you think is unpaid care and domestic work as we are going on. I'll just read your answers as we are going on. Just quickly type what is your definition of unpaid care and domestic work for community-based organizations. You can put in your name at the end. And as we are speaking, if I ask you to speak, you can then briefly introduce yourself. Because of our time, we're unable to do individual introductions. So the diversity of the content is designed to ensure that the training works as a guide to a more participatory and experience-based model of capacity development for emerging women leaders. So when you go back to train, we also expect you to employ these techniques so that it's not boring to the audience, also that you also learn from the audience, because we are not the sole owners of the knowledge that is existing out there. We acknowledge that the communities that we work with also have some deep knowledge, indigenous knowledge systems that they have in communities. So at the end of this training, we hope that you'll be equipped with knowledge around unpaid care and domestic work. Sorry, that's not supposed to read. It's supposed to work. More so, you should be able then to link this with how it impacts on the participation of women in leadership. Because if we don't address issues such as unpaid care and domestic work and the implications for the leadership of women, it means that even if we have a statutory instrument that actually says women must be 50% in parliament, we will still have no women actually coming up to take those leadership positions because structural barriers that are affecting their participation. So for this training, we have three main topics that we are going to do, and I'm going to be taking you on introducing unpaid care and domestic work, and then we will have implications of unpaid care and domestic on women and girls' social, economic, and political life. So I asked earlier on, what do you think are the implications? What is your understanding of unpaid care and domestic care work? May I ask, who is this one? Your camera is moving so much, it's disturbing my ears. Thank you for switching off your camera. Okay, so Reggie says unpaid care work are reproductive roles at family and community level, including domestic, cooking, laundry, water collection, child care, and home-based care work. And then Nomcele says unpaid care work, I believe, is more or less in line with the cheap labor where one offers his or her domestic care services without a competitive salary or motivational compensation in return. Reggie also says that, I think I read this, unpaid care work, that's maestro, blessing body. Unpaid care work refers to all unpaid services provided within a household for its members, including care of persons, housework, and voluntary community work. Unpaid care work is labor that does not receive any direct remuneration. That's tariro. And munhukadzi anoita mabasa epamba ese kusanganisira kuchengeta wana asingaoni mari. That's Peter Kurima. I think that more or less sums up the definition for unpaid care work in the context that we are trying to, so this is the activities trying to come up with. So that defines what unpaid care work is. So it's basically working, but I see some of you have said that with little or no remuneration. Is there a point where you would say that somebody actually comes and says, I'm paying you for this and that? That's a question also for you to answer. Do women get paid, or those that do unpaid care work, do they get any form of remuneration at all? Because I see answers that say little or no remuneration. Do they get any form of remuneration at all? I'm receiving some feedback. I'm not sure whose microphone or camera is not muted. Can we type in the WhatsApp group? Is there a point where you think that at some point there is little or some form of remuneration for unpaid care work? And how is that paid? Tafazwa says unpaid care work is done but not recognized or paid for, like cooking or taking care of children. And then Nancy says, I think it refers to all house or community work without getting paid at all. And then Nomcele says, at times they get paid in kind or compliments, which cannot suffice to work that they would have done. Thank you very much. I just wanted to clarify that. I think we can work that. We work with that. And someone says there's no remuneration unless uri musikana webasa. Okay, ibasa rakakura raanenge achitoita saka anofanira kutongoonekawo semushandi daily. I think for now, those are enough contributions for the question that I'd asked. So let's go to the definition that I have of unpaid care work. So unpaid care work is direct care of other people. This may be caring for children, the elderly, or people who are disabled. Domestic work such as cooking, cleaning, washing, and other forms of housework. Ancillary domestic services, for example, collecting firewood or water. Community volunteering, such as unpaid community work undertaken for friends, neighbors, or more distant family members, and work undertaken out of a sense of responsibility for the community, such as volunteer work. And then unequal, meaning that poor, marginalized communities spend more time on care with the biggest responsibility falling on women and girls in these communities. So it's important that we also understand the nexus between unpaid care and domestic work with gender roles in our society, because that's how this then ends up being unpaid care. What happens when a girl child is born and when a boy child is born, they are already assigned societal roles, which they are then socialized into based on their gender. And because of that socialization, you find these ancillary domestic activities like collecting firewood or water or cooking in the household are then allocated to female members of the households. So when they grow up, they already have a burden of work that they are carrying on. Men are actually assigned fewer roles in the household. They are normally just called the breadwinner. So they go in the bread for the family the whole day. But meanwhile, the ladies or the females of the household are also toiling in the household with no pay. When men go to win the bread, they bring money into the household. So they are paid for whatever work they do. But we must understand that both men and women function for society to properly function. So when men go to work and women stay behind in the home, which is the normal setup in many homes, it does not mean that the work that a woman is coming to do does not have monetary value. That's how we then come up to say it's unpaid care and domestic work. Because in the absence of that woman, in developed countries, for example, you would find that a nurse aide would be actually hired to carry on that function and be paid for it. So when we then say it's unpaid, it's because we recognize that it's work and that it deserves some form of remuneration. Are there any questions? You can post your questions either in the chat box, Ronald can read them for me, or in the WhatsApp group. Any questions this far? Or you can just mute one or two persons who have raised up their hands to comment on this. Fungai, you can comment or ask your question. Okay, if there are no questions, we'll go ahead with the presentation. I can't see the hands. I don't know who can see the hands.
Why is it? Why you make like this one? Ipe mako. Saka people. No, it's okay. I was only one. Sorry.
Nomcele, you can speak.
Okay, morning.
Morning.
My question is on whether I was left wondering whether you're still explaining the unpaid care or now is on domestic work, because I think there's a difference between comparing a wife and a nanny or a maid, because a nanny is someone who can be referred to falling under the category of the unpaid care, and a wife falling under the domestic work. So I don't know if we're taking what or we're still taking the unpaid care.
Thank you, Nomcele. My apologies for giving more examples that are leaning on domestic work, but yes, we are defining both unpaid care and domestic work. And domestic work. I saw another hand. Okay, thanks, you are answered. Okay, so we move on to who is affected. Who is affected by unpaid care and domestic work? Who is affected by domestic care and domestic care, sorry, unpaid care and domestic work? Caroline, you can speak. You can go ahead, Caroline.
Okay, I think vanhu vanonyanya kuafekanyanya vakadzi bhozi unoona kuti mabasa atinoita hanyanya kukosheswa savakadzi. Kubika unotonzi hapana kwera uchiita, so I think vakadzi ndo vanonyanya kuafektika kazhinji kudarika munhurume, because anongozvitora kuti zvingori zvinhu zviri simple ende unofanira kutongozviita semunhukadzi. Havakoshesi kutoti kuwacha chaiko kana kunge uchipepa even hamwene wako kana kuti mwana kutoinda kumugezesa achienda kuchikoro nokumuwachira zvitombori basa rako iwewe. So tichisi tinonyanya kuafektika savakadzi. I can say
Okay, Fungai, you can speak. There is somebody raising their hand, but there's no name on there's no username, so I can't pick who that is. Walpi, you can speak.
Hey, Bati.
Yes.
Mine is not a question. I just want to ask all those who have unmuted their mobile devices to mute, because when they are typing in, we are getting feedback from this end. So I'd like, especially Nancy, Peter, and then there's is it Nomo, the one with the device which has no name. So if they can mute their mics so that we can have a proper sound.
Thank you, Ronald. Yes, I'm getting that feedback as well. No, you can go ahead and contribute.
Okay. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. As I'm seeing, I'm end up concluding that mostly women's affected as much as men, because before us seeing the environment where we are living with, I would think that it was already being practiced on or long ago by our forefathers, that the roles of a woman, they are too much. The roles of a woman, they are very much more. If we are seeing in cases of funerals, mostly women are assigned very uneasy duties, such as sleeping with the deceased, washing the deceased, and wrapping the deceased. So all of these duties are no longer easy, even though the deceased are producing the good smell. They are already been forced to sleep over there. They already also sleep forced to wash there. So we would see that mostly women are affected very much, even though in men there is such practicing, we are seeing and observing, especially the Constitution of Zimbabwe itself, we're seeing that the Constitution of Zimbabwe will amending that men are responsible to looking after the family, even though there is the 50-50, but we are seeing that in most communities, this dream is no longer working anymore. Mostly men are responsible for looking after the family. So I'm seeing as it balanced, but in larger perspective, women are at disadvantaged as much. That's my own contribution. I don't know if I'm correct. I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you, Nomo. It seems as if many participants also agree. From the WhatsApp group, I read that women are mostly affected, women and girls are more affected. Reggie, you can go ahead and contribute.
Hello, sorry, Batanai.
Okay,
Sorry,
yes.
sorry, Reggie. I have a housekeeping issue that needs to be attended. So I want to know from our participants, this is a housekeeping, us to reimburse your data and lunch money via Mukuru. May you please indicate in the WhatsApp group or chat box, because it's something that we need to do soon after. So I need you to let me know now. Those who are in Tungiza and Harare, who want me to give them cash, please indicate cash. You write your name, your ID, like the names, the correct names that are on your ID, especially for those who want Mukuru, because you will not get the money if it's if you put a wrong name or a surname. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Essie. Reggie, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I think it all goes back to the way society was structured and the terminology that we might adopt. Like we always talk of voluntary work, particularly caregivers. So the moment someone here is voluntary, no one wants to part ways his or her monies. Also, apa mazveshuwa madzimai vanotanga muka pamba vanoprepare baba vaende kubasa vanoprepare vana, and she's the last one to sleep. I think it is also go back to our cycle nature here. Saka is an issue of mindset yatinofanira kurigosa as people kuti titange kuti tsvaga sort of some form of skills kuti so kana mabasa robhadharwa hawo, so that at least pasalary yababa ipapo muneonawo chidimbu chavo chinoenderana nebasa rawachiita pamba. I think that's my.
Thank you, Reggie. That's very elaborate. I guess a lot of it, like you said, borders on what we refer to work and what we do not refer to work as communities. When we talk of care work, we already assign it a role of voluntary. So it's then considered by society to be not worth paying for. And unfortunately, our society also assigns that gender role to women. So who is affected? Women and girls who perform the majority of unpaid care and domestic work, while men more hours on average doing paid work. If both total paid and unpaid hours are combined, women work more overall. This work is often undercounted and undervalued because it is carried out simultaneously with paid and productive work, or when the carer is also studying, eating, resting, or socializing. So you find that mostly women wake up 4 o'clock in the morning, they're already up, and already the clock is ticking in terms of the work that they're supposed to be doing. And they're the last ones to sleep in a household. So they might actually be doubling both roles, care work and unpaid care work. You can have an ill person in the household, and it's the work of the woman or the female members of that household to ensure to ensure that this person is taken care of, has eaten, has taken their medication. But you also have to keep the household running. You also have to cook for everyone else who is well, or has gone to some form of paid care work, or the children that have gone to school. You can still come back also to be teaching homework to those children. So that's why we're saying it's done simultaneously. Sometimes we think that women are magicians, and to a certain extent, I believe so, because the work that they then do in the hours that they have is so huge that you cannot even quantify it or even try to put a value to it. So what would be the implication of this? I just want to hear your thoughts. What do you think is the effect of this unpaid care work? I'll give you an example that men and women do not enjoy so much cordial relationship in the household, because a woman sometimes has so much a workload during the day that when it's time for her to relax in the household with the family, she's been building emotions throughout the day. At the end of the day, you want to just relax as a family. You want to be watching TV and talking through issues. She's already in a bad mood, and then you say, women don't understand. I'm tired, I'm coming from work, I've been doing this and that. Now I just want to relax and show some love to her. She's in a bad mood. But it's because she's been building emotions through the day. She's a ball of moods from what has happened in her day from 4 a.m. to about 9 o'clock, where you now want to relax with her. Also understand that context. I just want to get your feel of how you think this affects the leadership of women at the end of the day. Give a rundown at the end of this session, but I just want, as we are going on with the presentation, for you to type in our WhatsApp group or in the chat box, what do you think will be the implications of having women participate in unpaid care and domestic work? There are also men who participate there, but the focus for us today and for this program is women and girls. So I thought I could also share the root causes of an equal distribution of unpaid care and domestic work. Some of you have already mentioned some of the issues. So I thought we could do this in a more participatory way. I've listed 4 organizations that I want to sorry, there are people who want to be admitted into. Okay, so I've listed 4 organizations that I would want to look at this. Whilst we are discussing, may I ask Sbusiso Bebe from the Young Women's Alliance to look feedback. At the social norms that affect, that results in the root cause, unequal distribution work. What are the social norms? When you come back, you discuss with the rest of the group. I'd ask you to just present brief, and then I'll ask Womandla Foundation from Zhishavane to give us the policy and social issues that result in an equal distribution of unpaid care work, unpaid care and domestic work. And then I would ask Bethany from Zhishavane as well to give us the economic issues that may result in the unequal distribution of unpaid care and domestic work. And then I'll ask Sprout Women's Sprout Women Empowerment Trust, I think there's Caroline, to give us the political issues that may result in an equal distribution of unpaid care and domestic work. I hope all these people are in this meeting. Young Women's Alliance, may you say yes? Young Women's Alliance, are you in the meeting?
Yes.
All right. Wobandla. Bethany. In AC, can you give us one person? I saw Chitrist.
Yes, Patty, I wrote in the chat box that put Chitrist.
Oh, okay. So Chitrist, yes. So we'll have Chitrist taking on the third one. So I'll give you 30 seconds to discuss. The rest of us can be typing in the chat box or in the WhatsApp group. What do we think are the root causes of the unequal distribution of unpaid care and domestic work? What are the root causes of unequal distribution of unpaid care and domestic work? I think our 30 seconds is over, but I don't see anything in the chat box. Okay, sorry. There is something. Oh, now the messages are diluted. Okay. So Nomcel has written the implications. I think the wife will feel unappreciated. It feels used, especially if there's no compliment. Women are now termed too emotional because of the issues that build up in their heads. The unequal role will lead to emotions being taken out on children. This will end up in suicide, drug abuse, and even prostitution in a way to freeing the stress and even failure to take care with resources or in property to let the women suffering the most normal. Itsika dzakabva kare dzaiitwa nevakuru. I think it's about culture. Main root causes are the culture, that cultural norms. Yes, agreed. I think, like we said, so what we So what we need to be able to do is to link this burden of unpaid care and domestic work on the participation of women into processes of leadership, in community meetings, participating as let's say local councillor or member of parliament or even presidents. Do you you need to understand the nexus that it takes a lot of time for a woman to carry out the domestic and care in their households. In the end, it will mean they will have to prioritize certain issues and say this may not work.
taisvika tichibvunzira nenyaya dzekunyepa mema achimbomira kuti handai mutaurira everything utsai mare inini mire ndimumire pasaidha maimopedzera nani aya ekuharare tichichinyepa neku sisi mema uya kuti aiwa.
I'm trying to mute the participants that are, yeah. Sorry about that. No more, you can speak.
As I'm seeing, the root causes will end up disgrace the women's perspective. If we are seeing very closer, we're seeing that most women in the community, they are no longer even managed to participate either political rules, religious rules, even social rules. Why? Because they are manipulated already long back. And this will lead them to engage in different sorts of polluted activities in order to gain the confidence of life, in order to gain the peace of mind. But without this, they will end up stressing themselves. They end up brought the born babies. Why? Because stress is now rampant in their heads. This will end up affecting the community, the country at large. So the best is to introducing the measures in order to cure such activities, such practices in the society.
Thank you, Normo. I guess the contribution there is that when women are stressed because of the heavy burden of unpaid care, they end up being very emotional beings. So in the end, they are then viewed as unqualified leaders, because as a leader, you're supposed to show that you're holding your act together. You are able to lead people. So, but when you exhibit such emotions, so in the end, people will just view you as an unstable person. I'll just read one or two from the chat box. That's from John. Steals emotional connection from a woman. It takes away self-esteem or confidence when she's out with or in the society or community. I think that's a very good point. As a leader, you must have a high self-esteem and confidence levels. So when you have low self-esteem and confidence, it means that even those who you want to elect you into a leadership position are unable to elect you because they don't feel they can control with the leadership role for their community. So that's a big blow to the participation of women. It takes away economic freedom and in turn forces dependence on a man. Yes, thank you very much. I think you'll agree that our political environment in Zimbabwe is very polarized, as much as it is also highly monetized. So because it's highly monetized, if I spend a lot of my time doing activities that do not bring money into pocket, it means if I want to then participate in processes that will need money, such as running a political campaign, I'm already starting from a point of disadvantage because I don't have the financial capacity that my opposite might be having, who is also normally a man. So let's, we'll come back to the chat box. Let's come back to the main room and hear what, we'll start with Spusiso. What Spusiso has for us. Spusiso. While we get hold of a, Can we have Womandla? Hello?
Hello.
Is that Womandla?
Not. I'm listening.
Okay. Carol, I'm not sure what's happening to the participants that I had asked to come back to us. So we'll continue with the discussion. I see 2 hands are raised. I'll just get the 2 contributions and then we can move on. Shaisano Nsingo. You can go ahead. Okay, I'll just go ahead. I'm not sure if it's my microphone or the people are not speaking. Andrew, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Batana. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you very much. My contribution is this whole thing of this unequal distribution is that, as I indicated in the chat box, our traditional norms and values, they are all hit on women. After getting married, even whilst they are at home, as a girl child, you have to wake up early hours of the day, the break of dawn, around 3, 4. You have to clear the household chores before you go to school. You have to do the gardening, you go to the field. All that is heaped on the girl child. And when you get married, you are expected to do everything, whilst the man is there drinking his palm wine, seated waiting for breakfast. You go, you fetch the firewood, everything. You do the cooking. When there are kids, you nurse the kids, everything. And by the end of the day, when you want to participate in any developmental program in the nation, be it the political, even the social, when you want to go and join some other social groups for community development, you cannot, because by the time you come back home, the man is furious. He wants supper, he wants lunch, and so by the end of the day, you lose the energy to participate in the social groups or to go to campaign. Even when you go out, you get the chance 3-4 hours a day. The men always are so, they undermine you. When they look at you, they just say, yeah, no, we grew up, women never talked in front of men. So what you do is just sit down and listen to what men say. So these cultural things, we grew up with them, and this is the whole chain we are trying to break, that no, women can also do what men can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. We can then continue these discussions off a line, but yes, you have summed up some of the issues. So according to Bill and Melinda Gates, they identified 4 root causes of the heavy burden and unequal distribution of unpaid care work. And then those are the social norms, the and social institutions, the economic environment and labor market conditions, and the availability of technology and infrastructure. So in as much as the social norms contribute heavily, we also have these other three also contributing to the unequal distribution of unpaid care and domestic work for women. Like I said, we want to be able to link how this then affects the participation of women in other activities that we deem to be important for their life, which is representation in leadership in all community level positions. You will find that you hardly find women in a village health committee. If they are there because it's not paid, and men do not take up activities that are not paid. Or if they are there, they are only maybe a secretary or some unimportant position. So we want to be able to address these root causes, because if we don't address the root causes, sorry, somebody has feedback again. Caroline. So if we do not address these root causes, we will continue to be having the unequal, the inequality in terms of representation for women and men. And as we have already agreed, and as research has shown, we have more men, we have more women than men the world over. So it's only fair and it's only logical that we have also increased representation for women in all aspects. So let's quickly go to the implications of unpaid care and domestic work and, on women and girls. Again, I'll ask you, those who can chat, those who can raise their hands, those who can put in the chat box, and then I'll read. I was hoping that those that I had assigned would be able to write down the social, economic, political, and cultural implications of unpaid care and domestic work on women and girls. So this is what we can then discuss now. I know I've opened up earlier, so we just now need to discuss the implications of unpaid care and domestic work on women and girls. What do you think are the major implications of this? They can be social, they can be economic, political, and cultural. I see that only the men are raising their hands on this platform, and that one is me. We are already talking about the non-participation of women in such platforms. So when women don't speak, I get worried. This has to be an issue that affects us. Nomi, you can speak.
Okay, I think looking at the political aspect, actually mentioned that your organization focuses on empowering women to participate in the public offices, like also aim to be one of the parliament. So I think on the political aspect, if the woman is not valued at home, she will not see herself as a person who can be valued in a parliament, right? So even if she takes up the position, she will not do what the position requires just because of that effect that started from home. Then looking at the cultural implications, I think the issue that this problem emanated long ago from our ancestors and everyone else, I think it really affects the person, like the way you would handle yourself in the community. If you're seen as that woman who just stays at home, listens to what the husband is saying, other women would think it as a weakness. Other women would take it as, yes, it's submission. You start looking at it as submission to your husband, but it ends up being like you're being abusive. And even if the community gives you an option to say out your views, it will be not respecting the husband. Economically, women are not empowered only by domestic work. You need to go out there and find your passion and follow your dreams. So economically, one is left to depend on the husband every time, and even the kids when they grow up. Now I'm looking on the social aspect. Even if the kids grow up, their mother like that, the child is not motivated. The girl child is not actually seeing the woman in her home as the role model. So I think that's my point of view.
Thank you very much for that deep analysis of the issue. It goes deeper, like just you have explained. If I see my mom with no confidence, and if I'm not treated with respect in my own household, it means I will not even attempt to go to other spaces which are probably not spaces of comfort for me. So that has implications on our participation in community issues, either locally, nationally, or even beyond, because I'm already not viewed as an important part of that community. I'm trying to avoid male hands, but I'll be forced to get the male hands. Reggie, you can speak.
Can you hear?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I think the overall implementation of workload on women and girls comes back to the issue of pull-down syndrome, whereby even women, they are not in a position to accept women as leaders. Consider the fact that women are the majority, they can easily win political offices, but women, they are also not in a position to vote for fellow women per se. We have also another problem when we have more workload towards girls, it ends up affecting their education. The pass rate for girls will decline. We end up having less women at the university level, less women in the economic sectors and so forth. So at the end of the day, women will not have the financial muscle to challenge men politically. So it keeps on revolving. So the way forward perhaps is also to groom young women, young men, so that they can begin to accept girls as future leaders per se. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much. We cannot understate the importance of men in this whole debacle. We understand that men are also players who, if they are sensitized about unpaid care and domestic work, can also contribute to lessening the burden on women and also valuing the work that women do. Thank you very much for that contribution. May I also just, I forgot to mention that this is a platform with many Ndebele and Shona speakers as well as English speakers. So those that are comfortable with Shona can speak in Shona. Those are comfortable in English can speak in English, and Ndebele can also do the same. Thank you very much for that contribution, Reggie. Hence, we have actually included men in this training. I'll ask Fungai Saunyama.
Okay, can you?
Yes.
Okay, I'll start with the cultural norms. The men are regarded as weak if they run around helping the women. It's like akadyiswa akabatsira mukadzi. Then on economic issues, the workload which is heaped on the woman and the girl child, it's like there's no time for the women to have these income generating projects, projects like salary and whatever. And also on the girl child, it also heap a lot of pressure, so that even schoolwork yake ainyatsi kuita zvakanaka. Also in politics, you would see kuti mukadzi akaita deep into politics, anenge achinzi ure whatever, nokuti politics, like you spend most of the time with men and whatever, so people will not understand you. I think that's my contribution there. Hello? 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 Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, have you heard my contribution?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much for that contribution. I think that sums it up for us. We need to interrogate further, but not on this platform because of our limited time. But we need to interrogate these issues that you guys have raised, because there are real issues in the implications of the participation of women in politics, local leadership, and development programs. So I'll just read as a parting shot at the impact of unpaid care work burden on women. So women's participation in politics, local leadership, and development programs is restricted by their unpaid care and domestic work, as they are left with no time to attend leadership and community meetings. Unpaid care and domestic duties can also be a barrier to human rights of women, including the rights to freedom of speech, association, leisure, and the rights to work and social security. So the last slide. Heavy care workloads leave women physically and emotionally exhausted. Some domestic activities, such as collecting firewood or water, expose women to risk of injury and assault and others, such as cooking with fuel, leading to long-term adverse health effects. Due to lack of social protection and provision of care services, women often work too long into their pregnancy and start working too soon after childbirth. So all this, what it does, it then just demotivates women from participation in other things, as they just then focus on what they would be thinking is their priority for the time, which is taking care of the family or ill members of the family. Thank you very much for being participatory and for listening to me. I'll end here and hand over to Esther.
Thank you very much, Batanai. We are going to the next session. We are supposed to end our training at 12 o'clock. So Bati has done much of the work. We are continuing, and this session I'm going to lead it. Now we are going to talk about how best we can address issues to do with unpaid care and domestic work. So we have what we call the 5 R's. The 5 R's, they go about how we can recognize, how we can reduce, how we can redistribute, how we can reward, and how we can represent unpaid care and domestic work. So basically, after you spoke of all those challenges that you say come about because of unpaid care and domestic work, we are now in that session where I would like to ask you on what you think can be done to rectify or to make unpaid care and domestic work be recognized, or be reduced, or be redistributed, or be rewarded, or be represented. How can we make this burden, how can we reduce this burden that women are facing? I'll ask people to send messages in the group as well as using the chat group. Did you hear the question? I'm asking, how can we reduce the burden that women are facing? So I'm going to give you a minute to send messages in the group and even in the chat box, and I'll read them out. I'm getting responses. Rosemary is saying that for us to rectify the issue of unpaid care and domestic work, there should be the drilling of boreholes in all areas, since women are walking long distances in search of water, so that there will be less work. I have Nomtelolo. She's saying that in Zimbabwe, most things are done through our parliament. So unless a bill or a law is passed to advocate for women on these issues, none will ever be taken seriously. Also, we need influential people who can be the image that will air out these issues and be listened to. Let me check in the chat box if we have. Nancy Matsia says more advocacy messages on 50-50 gender equality, participation in all work. That way, even boys growing up will be able to do chores equally with girls. Thank you very much for these insightful points. I'm going to talk about the 5 R's that I mentioned in the first time I spoke about addressing unpaid care and domestic work. When we talk about recognizing unpaid care and domestic work, we are looking at the nature, the extent, and the role of unpaid care work in any given context. For example, these are some of the issues that there is one issue that someone spoke about around the 50-50 participation. When we speak about recognizing unpaid care work, we look at ways that we can use to raise awareness and advocate for change, and even measuring time use. Someone spoke about the balls. I can give an example of how women have been having limited time to do other things, because most women and girls have been spending so much time moving up and down looking for water. The water is scarcity, and when they get the water, they have to stand maybe for long hours waiting to fetch water. So these are some of the things that we look at when we say we want to recognize unpaid care and domestic work. I'll move on to how we can reduce the overall burden of unpaid care work. The examples that I can give are improving public access to water, including public access to electricity, improving access to electricity, fuel, and childcare services. We can talk about gender-sensitive approaches to transport and urban planning, and even gender-responsive budgeting. I'm sure most of us know about the issue that happened yesterday. We have an issue where the Minister of Finance gave out the budget for next year. So these are some of the things that we'll be talking about. That we have to advocate for issues to do with unpaid care and domestic work to be included in budgets, especially around infrastructural development, where one mentioned about boreholes. There is need for us to talk more about these issues so that we can reduce unpaid care and domestic work burden upon our women. In some countries, they can talk about investing in time and labor saving technologies. For example, we are so used kunowacha kurwizi kana kuri kumamisha kana kuri kuno muri mumatown kuwacha zvinotora nguva munhu achiwacha. So when we talk about investing in time and labor saving technologies, kune kwakutaurwa nyaya dzakafanana nemawashing machine anonga achizobatsirawo kuti munhu pari hembe padzinenge dzichisukwa iwe unenge uchiita mabasa zvicherutsa time yaunozowanikwa uchispenda kana uchiita basa. We can even talk about so tiri pakuti reducing the overall burden of unpaid care work. Zvimwe zvinotarisirwa zvinhu zvakaita kuti invest in public infrastructure, especially infrastructure that guarantees improved access to water, and this makes a real difference to the amount of time women will spend on unpaid care work. Another issue, it's about state policies that should position unpaid care and domestic work as a social and collective responsibility, in particular through improving women's access to public services, care, and infrastructure. I'll move on to redistributing the burden of unpaid care work more equally across genders. I'll give examples. This can be done through transforming social norms and engaging with men and boys. So I'm happy that in this platform already we have men and boys and they are sharing their views on unpaid care and domestic work. Another way of redistributing the burden of unpaid care work more equally across genders is through implementing labor market policies that supports both genders to balance paid employment and unpaid care. I will speak of rewarding care works with more decent work. For example, developing social protection programs that even support women. I can give an example. During the COVID-19 pandemic that we are in, we have realized that there have been no policies at all by government that specifically target women on reducing unpaid care and domestic work. So these are some of the things that we'll be talking about when we say for us to tackle the issue of unpaid care and domestic work, we want to redistribute and reward even women who are doing a lot of work. For example, now women are the ones who are cooking, they're the ones who are taking care of children, they're the ones who are taking care of the elderly, they're the ones who are taking care of the sickly, they're the ones who are going to fetch water. So the burden is just too much on them. And the last area that I'm going to speak about is representing women in decision making. For example, we have to look at ways how we can engage women throughout all these issues. So women should be at the center of unpaid care work, unpaid care and domestic work. So this is all about it. Let me check my time. My time is 11:50. I'm running out of time. So at this moment in time, I'm going to ask my colleague Varaito to ask you guys about way forward and how we can plan. What do you think we can do? Last week in our meeting with your directors and programs people, we also had an action plan on what we thought we could do as civil society organizations, as CBOs, for this issue of unpaid care and domestic work to be seen as a policy issue. Some of the things have been mentioned, so you can speak of those things that have not been mentioned as we conclude our training. Thank you very much. I'll hand over to my colleague, Varaizo.
Hi, everyone. My name is Varaizo Jo. I'm a gender and membership officer for Unpaid. As Esther highlighted, we're going to be looking at what ways can we influence unpaid care work and domestic work to be considered as a policy. So I would first ask you to quickly note down in the WhatsApp group the different stakeholders that we can approach in order for UCW to be considered as a policy issue. We can write in the group and then we discuss. And we should also explain why these stakeholders are key to this process. The stakeholders that we would have mentioned, how effective and how important are they in implementing the policy of UCW? And also we can raise our hands and just participate from this Zoom meeting while we read messages from the WhatsApp group. Andrew, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much. My contribution is that we can liaise with our Ministry of Youth, being the motherboard for all the 35 years and below, and everyone falls. About 3 or so quarters of the population are young people. So this motherboard can lobby and advocate with the youth so that they can be sensitized about this UCDW thing. And also the Women's Affairs Ministry, Gender and Community Development, they can also help us being the motherboard for all women activities. I think I can contribute these 2 ministries. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Nomo, you can go ahead.
Okay. My contribution is for the way forward. It is wise for us and organization to doing up campaigns nearly either monthly, weekly, or yearly, in order to inciting the people that we have to understand in depth the context of unpaid works, in order to minimizing all the effects that we've listed. That we're already talking about on the meeting. So we have to bring up campaigns. We have also to open up the platform whereby we lobbying the information or different activities to the masses of Zimbabwe in order for them to understand the context and doing up different activities in the societies in order to aiding to inciting the villagers, the community about being aware of unpaid work. That's all I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Nomo. Anyone else? And from the Zoom group chat, we have Caroline saying it should start from the top government. We should engage the government first. And then John Kachingamiri said NGOs funding influence government through reports. And then Caroline also went on to say we should also engage chiefs. So from the answers that we got, I think the policymakers that we can identify are the various ministries, the judiciary, the executive, the parliament, and the district councils to progress a UCW agenda, which will highly increase commitment and investment on UCW. And we also, as Nomo highlighted, we can also do what we call media awareness raising and sensitization of the public on UCW. By awareness raising and sensitization, we'll be trying to change public opinions and narratives to acknowledge UCW as an economic and development and gender equality issue. And also on the issue of CSOs, CSOs can collaborate with community-based organizations. Those organizations that are working with women, and CSOs can hold governments to account through citizen budgeting, planning, monitoring processes. The public communication campaigns and compiling content to engage and educate the public audience about UCW, because it's clear that most people just think that housework, house chores is a woman's job, and they don't really need to be paid or be recognized as they were born to do that, but we're trying to move away from that notion and actually accept that UCW needs to be put into a policy so that we can lessen the burden of women and girls and also give them more time to participate in economic processes and decision making. And it also gives them more time to take part in leadership issues that's addressing the issue of gender equality. And there's also the issue of engaging the private sector, engage corporate leaders on debates about ECW. We should facilitate dialogue with private sector actors on the positive role that they can play to support care in the policy, practice, and advertising. And Rubimbo Mikhail also went on to say, what does the Constitution say about women? We must fight about their legislative representation. As Rubimbo is saying, in the Constitution, it is clearly said that our women should be given an equal opportunity to participate in leadership and decision-making issues. And Nomi also said, I think schools, universities, and churches are also other influential places where women and girls need to be given such knowledge from. Yes, everything that we've all said also adds up to awareness raising on UCW. Do we have anyone else with other comments? You can show by raising your hands. From the WhatsApp group, we have read saying education, curriculum, and reading materials the biggest weapon promoting and sustaining feminicized unpaid care work and domestic work. Hence, let's review the curriculum. And also, want to say traditional and religious leaders to look into the issues of cultural and religious beliefs affecting the unpaid care work. Busy said Minister of Women Affairs. You can target the Minister of Women Affairs. Basically, that was all on advocates and influencing of UCW. And also, let's not end from this meeting. Let's keep the discussion and debate going on in our various platforms that we are in, our WhatsApp groups, in our communities. Let's have discussions on UCW and hear what other people think about unpaid care work. I'll hand over to AC. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. This was an insightful discussion. I wish we could add more time to it. But as I mentioned yesterday, we have that WhatsApp group. Please let me know if you want us to keep it going, because I remember I had just said it was for logistics purposes, but after this training, I think we need to keep it alive. I would like to thank you all for the time that you spared for us to have this training. We have come to the end of our training. And just a housekeeping issue, I've asked people to send me messages. Those who are not in the group, please just send me on the side indicating if you want me to send your reimbursement via Mukuru, or if you want me to give you as cash. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for the